More and more teachers are quitting their jobs due to bad pay, bad students, and an overall unhealthy environment to work in. Personally, for me, I was a teacher at one point in time, and I have to say I absolutely hated it. The disrespect from students, the bad pay, and then the overworking that the schools require you to do is absolutely ridiculous. Let's get straight off into this.
I'm a high school teacher. It is 4 weeks into the school year with students, and I am at my limit already. I am at my limit with being talked to and demanded at so disrespectfully, interrupted constantly, repeating myself countless times. This year feels worse. This year feels worse than the last 5 years I've taught. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I feel like I've seen so many teachers make videos where we are all ringing the alarm saying, this is bad. This year is not good. It's not good. We are struggling, and not a lot of us are going to last if this continues, because I think there's a reckoning of teachers realizing like, I actually don't deserve to be treated like shit. And then every day wipe that slate clean and start on over as if it didn't happen. I teach high schoolers. I see it from videos of elementary school teachers and middle school teachers. I don't know when, as a society, we're going to wake up and say, our system is failing. Our students don't have basic respect or human decency. Teachers are done.
It's because they're not taught that stuff. In Japan, they teach kids etiquette. They teach you manners. Cass and I, our goal for when our daughter is born is that the first 5 years, we're going to teach her manners and etiquette, so that way when she goes out into the world, she knows how to operate. So many teachers get talked down to by these kids because these kids have no respect for authority. They go home, they have no respect for their parents. Therefore, when they go to school, they definitely ain't got no respect for you. You're just some random person. What are you going to do about it?
They told me, what you going to do about it? Really. So I was ignoring them because we were out at tennis, and he was banging his racket. And so I told him he had to sit down. He lost 5 minutes of tennis. And he was like, I don't care. I don't have to listen to you. I'm not going to do it. What you going to do about it? So then he was in my space. So I said, I need you to back up. What you going to do? What am I going to do? What are you going to do? I don't know what else how to handle it. They say ignore negative behavior. So I was ignoring negative behavior, but he wanted a reaction.
Well, they want reactions because that's what they get at home. That's what they get in their regular life.
But now
they get hit with that belt or smacked or something.
My anxiety is a little high and my nerves are a little fried, but he wanted a reaction. I was trying not to give him one.
Well, guys, I made it a week.
Well, and what really irks me is these people are getting paid $45,000 a year. $50,000 a year, and you're dealing with this stuff, and then you mix in the pronouns, and you mix in the transactivism, and then you mix in the boys in the girls' locker rooms, and you mix in, the boys competing in girls' sports, and you mix in all this stuff, and it's like, this is a toxic environment, and the American school system is broken. That's why we are going to homeschool here. I'm not sending my kid to public school so they can be brainwashed.
And I asked to put my resignation in. I've been dealing with so many health problems due to stress, at least the last 2 years, and I was hoping that being at a new school would change that. And day 3, I was in urgent care because I thought, doesn't matter what I thought, but it all came down to chronic stress. And I walked in the next day and said, I cannot do this anymore. And
it's a real thing, dude. Chronic stress will eat you alive, man.
One of the questions people ask me is why are teachers quitting so much? I'm going to tell you my experience, and this might not be everybody's experience, but for me, I am in fight or flight mode all day long. And I really don't know what would change it. I guess just the caseload. It's so much pressure in so many different areas. It's hard to explain to people that aren't in it. Like,
no, it's not the case. It's pretty easy to explain it. So, few big problems here because I used to be a teacher. Number one, too many students in a class and you have to teach to the common denominator. So you can't teach to the really smart kids. You can't teach to the really stupid kids. So you have to teach kind of in the middle of the room. The thing is, how do you discipline and watch over 20 kids at one time? Keyword, you don't. Number two, the caseload of work. As a teacher, you're required to get through so much of a workload, so many papers. You have benchmark tests. You have the standardized test by probably each state. I don't know about Georgia, Florida, all these other states, but I'm almost positive that they have standardized tests, just like they do the STAR test. It used to be the TAX test or the TOS test here in Texas. So you're teaching to a test. You're not teaching to the students. And these kids are also learning a bunch of skills that are really mundane and useless in regular everyday society. So as a teacher, you're going through every single day teaching meaningless subjects, meaningless tasks, and then you're doing it year after year after year. And then you're told, hey, your kids aren't aren't doing well. They need to do better on the benchmark. And then they chastise you for your kids being stupid. That was the biggest thing for me. They call you a bad teacher unless every kid passes. How do I teach to 20 people when only 3 want to listen? Even in college, kids are sleeping. I paid for college and still slept at my freaking desk. I didn't pay attention. What kid that's the age of 14 to 18 can sit at a desk for more than 20 minutes still and listen to information? Don't worry, I'll wait. None of them, that's why. Kids aren't designed to sit there and just take in information from lectures. They're supposed to experience the world, have existentialism, interact with the world, do exercises, be outside, especially boys. Girls do a little bit better of just sitting there and watching, but boys don't do well with that. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you had this experience in school. I hated school. I wasn't good in school. It wasn't conducive of a positive learning environment for me. I wasn't good at school. I did bad. I made my first C in freaking 3rd grade. I wasn't a smart kid. I wasn't a bright kid. I was interested in the things I was interested in, but the thing is, those subjects were never taught. I really liked music, and I really liked people. But you don't go to school to learn about people. You don't go to school to really learn about music. What you did is you played the freaking recorder. And then after that, you sang, "This little light of mine, I want to let it shine." That was what we sang in my 5th grade choir concert, okay? We were treated like little babies, little children, little kids. At that point, yes, you are still a kid, but you can treat these kids like they're a little bit more mature. But the teachers, once again, they have to teach to the common denominator. They have to teach in the middle of the room. The case, and then you got to grade all these things, right? So at the end of the day, when you've taught all the classes, depending on if you have an A-B schedule or block schedules would be you have like a 3-4 hour block with a bunch of kids, and then you do 2 blocks a day. A lot of these schools do periods, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means you have 20 kids in 7 classes. What is that? 140 kids. Then you assign homework or you assign a paper. Then you have to grade 140 papers. So you get up there at 7:30, you get off at maybe 4 o'clock or maybe even 5 o'clock, and then you got to go home and grade papers. You're not done till 6 or 7, and then you go to sleep. And then you do the whole thing again, and then you get disrespected all day. It's ridiculous. And then some of these teachers have to drive buses just to make ends meet. I got a buddy who's a coach right now. He's like, bro, this sucks. I work 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week because he's a coach. And then he's like, and I have to grade papers. And I have to deal with parents. And I have to deal with kids coming in trying to tell me their pronouns. He's like, bro, I just don't get paid enough for this. I'm like, bro, you don't.
Kids, at least at my school, for some it's different. At this school, it's not the kids, it's not the parents, it's the workload. I narrowed it down to 2 choices. I said, okay, number 1, I either need to make peace with working 50 to 60 hours, and I need to go get some antidepressants. Option number 2 is make peace with quitting and trying something new.
The amount of teachers I had in high school that were on antidepressants, alarming.
And that's what I decided.
Well, the thing is these women can go work at TJ Maxx and make just as much money. You don't need to be a school teacher. You don't bank out.
Really bad.
I have to speak to, as a teacher of 24 years, this being my last year, I'm retiring. I'm done. And I'm done because of one word: parents. And I am going to speak for teachers who can't speak because they're still in the profession. Education has changed so much that it is unbearable. And that's why there's a teacher shortage. I have seen education change in 24 years, and it hasn't changed for the better. And a lot of it has to do with parenting or lack thereof. Parents, when you send your child to school, they need pens, they need pencils. If they don't have them, please ask me or ask the school. Parents, when you send your children to school, yes, they do need their books. Yes, they do need a notebook. If they do not have any of those things, please ask your teacher, or please ask the school. Bottom line is this: teachers are not just teachers. The amount of time that I spend teaching is
minimal.
Let's see. If I'm lucky, maybe 20 minutes within a class period.
Yeah.
There's so much other stuff going on every minute, every second of the class period. It starts off as soon as the kids come in the room. There's always self-regulation that I have to do. There's always redirection that I have to do. There's always repeating the same information, even though it's written on the overhead, even though it's clearly spelled as clear as it can be in the written language. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And even after I ask for clarifying questions, which I don't get any, there are kids who are constantly coming in late, which disrupts the classroom. The phone is ringing because the child needs to go to see the counselor because they're dealing with whatever issues. I get that, and I understand it happens. There are interruption because a child is leaving because the parents are taking the child out of school to go somewhere. There are interruptions in the day because I have to fill out an independent contract for a child who's going away for a month to Italy or to India. So that means I have to make special lesson plans for that child, which they don't do, by the way. There are interruptions when you have the counselors coming into the classroom and asking to take out a certain student. There are interruptions in the classroom because there are so many students with special needs. And again, I am not faulting.
Every single kid now has. So I don't know about you guys. Back in my day, there wasn't a lot of kids that had, special needs. Now, there were special needs, people with disabilities and things like that, right? That's one case. But every kid now seems to have like some special elective or special need. Like, oh, well, so-and-so has to read with this little orange sheet, or so-and-so has to have it quiet, or they have to wear their headphones, or they're, they get distracted easily. So they need their own little corner. Like every kid gets an exception now, where back in my day, kids were not getting that stuff. Ain't that right, Loki? I've fallen at work and been injured. Oh, wait. I should call my lawyer.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan.
Hey, John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. It's Levi Nichs of YouTube. Can I get some cash, please?
Morgan & 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 Morgan.
Did you know that your injury could be worth millions of dollars? Morgan & Morgan is the largest injury law firm in America, and they've recovered over $20 billion for their clients. $20 billion? That's a lot of cash. The insurance companies tried to lowball me, but Morgan & Morgan was able to take my pain and suffering and turn it into cold, hard cash. It's almost a good thing I was injured. But wait. How much is Morgan & Morgan gonna cost me? You never owe them legal fees unless they're successful. So it's completely free unless you win? Yeah. Hiring a lawyer? That sounds like really difficult. It's actually super easy. You can just go to their website, and in a couple clicks, you can find out if you have a case. And you can literally do it from your smartphone. And remember, there is only one Morgan & Morgan. Wait, it's two names though. How is it? Give me the script. Oh, both their last names. Okay, I get it. Okay, roll it. You can start your claim today by going to forthepeople.com/Levi, found in the description below. So if you're injured, you can trust Morgan & Morgan. Y'all know what time it is. Loki, free. Sit. Shake. Good boy. Wait. Free. Go to your place. That's a good boy. Let's get back into this lady. I think she's cooking.
Them for that. All I'm telling you is that a lot of extra energy goes into students who have special needs. And I'm the only person in the room.
Exactly.
There isn't a teacher's aide. There isn't another special ed person in here with me. And I have 33 to 34 students.
33 to... That's insane. I remember when I thought 20 to 25 was a lot.
The interruptions are insurmountable. So trying to teach is virtually impossible. We have teachers have become babysitters. And all we do is we're putting out fires every 2 to 3 minutes. And that's not an over-exaggeration. That is the truth. So, that and many other reasons, I'm retiring after 24 years.
Yeah, and good for this lady for retiring. Do your thing. I think it speaks to the moral decline that we're seeing in America right now. We are seeing a moral decline. Kids aren't taught manners. People aren't taught manners, and it's a generation of people not having etiquette, manners, or understanding how to be nice and work well with others. Everyone is so self-centered and self-centric and narcissist that it's like it's always me, I. It's drifted into the dating market. Look at a lot of the modern women. It's all about what can he do for me? Well, he's not serving me. If you're not adding to my life, you're not making me better. That's a big deal that we see in the modern dating market right now. But also, you got to think a lot of these single moms are raising these kids, and these kids are taught how to act like that because all that stuff is learned behavior. And then they go to school and they act like that. Well, I'm the only one that matters. You got a room full of 30 to 35 kids. It's tough when you got a bunch of self-centered, narcissistic children. It's absolutely brutal. And there's so many teachers that I feel like would still teach, but they just can't handle it, and I don't blame them.
And here's the real reason why teachers are quitting and or not mentally well. I'm sure you're thinking parents and admin, and some even say the kids. And those are all part of it, but that's not the root. This is the root. the root is that teachers don't have control anymore. One of the big differences between a good teacher and a bad teacher is a good teacher has control of their classroom. Bad teacher, it's crazy, chaos. A good teacher feels like they have control, feels like they have everything going on, feels like everything's going well. But because of the current dynamics, there's a lot of teachers out there, great teachers who have been doing it for years, who now since COVID has slowly had their control stripped away by admin not allowing them to have free reign in their classroom, and parents that are no longer supportive and in most cases are combative to anything that they want to do. So the way I view it is teachers are in a straitjacket. Like imagine a teacher in a classroom with a straitjacket on. It's like, can somebody get me that? Get me that? No, not that. And when you feel that constant lack of control, the stress is outrageous. So these great, amazing teachers who literally have their hands tied behind their back are realizing that I don't have that control anymore like I used to. So these teachers are stressed out of their mind. But
yeah, no, dude, I see it. You used to could make a career out of teaching. Now I feel like it's a young person's game. You got to get in and get out. It's like you got to get in and out like the burger joint. Because if you don't, bro, you're gonna get swallowed up.
Of America.
People that work in public schools are leaving the profession, and I'm no different. I walked out of my job and quit after 10 years working in a public high school, and I don't regret it at all. Unless you've worked in education yourself, you really can't relate. People in other positions want to say or compare that their job is just as hard, but to be honest, unless you've actually done it and you've walked the walk and you've been in our shoes, you don't know. It's not the pay.
You really don't, because the thing is, you're hanging out with a lot of kids that you can't discipline really in any way besides, I'm going to send you to the principal's office, and then they're back in 3 days. And then they're still disrespecting you, and they're still not listening. You have really no control over your classroom. And that's why when I taught, I was so mean, and I hated it because I wasn't being myself. I'm like, I'm such a happy-go-lucky, nice guy. And also hated kicking it with kids all day. I hate to say it, but if a kid's not mine, they're whack. Hanging out with high schoolers, middle schoolers, I'm like, bro, I don't want to hear y'all talk about 6, 7, yeet. I don't care about, I want to hang out with adults. I'm an adult, I want to hang out with adults. That's why I got out of teaching immediately and immediately got a sales job. Because I was like, bro, these kids are whack.
Pay. People go into this profession knowing that the pay isn't going to be great, and they go in because they love the kids and because they sometimes want the schedule. They want to be moms, they want to be dads, they want to have a schedule that can accommodate them being parents. And that's why I went to the profession, but it's also exactly why I left. It got to the point where I was so exhausted and drained by the end of a school day where I had poured every ounce of energy, every ounce of empathy that I had out onto all these kids that by the time I got home, there was nothing left for my own family. And my kids, my own kids, they were suffering because of it. They didn't have a present mom. I was like a walking zombie for the 10 months of the year that I was working in public school. And they only really got a good version of their mom in the 2 months of summer. And I quickly realized that I want my kids to experience a good mom every day.
I want you to send this video to anybody who can't understand why teachers are crashing out and quitting. I mean, they get their summers off, so like, what do they really have to complain about?
Yeah, and so many people think, oh, teachers get summers off. I got a buddy who's like, during the summer, all he does is plays Call of Duty 8 hours a day. Because he's like, bro, I have to disconnect. I cannot stand it. Because 10 months out of the year, he is grinding out 50, 60-hour weeks, barely making enough to do anything.
I have brought visual aids. Here we go. So everything I show you on this green clipboard is going to represent when I started teaching in 2005, and everything on this red clipboard is 2025. I did not teach the full 20 years. I took 7 years off because I had children and my husband's in the military. We moved a lot. Here we go. These are actual seating charts that I found as I was cleaning out my desk today. So this represents the year 2005, and this is how many of my students are reading on grade level. Everything in blue. So I got 1.5 students out of like a group are struggling readers, but pretty much everybody's reading at least on level, some even higher, okay?
Solid.
2025. How many of my students are reading on grade level?
Wow. That is a huge, wow, I was not expecting that.
Okay, this next is an average of how many of my
It was like basically half.
students failed my class. Like they are going to have to repeat this. There's no recovering. They failed. This is 2005.
So like 1 out of 20?
0.5 student out of all of my students.
Oh, 0.5 students. Wow, okay.
This is this year.
6?
This is this year.
Or no, 7? God, I'm stupid.
Average, I teach about 100 students on average. This is how many students in each class are not passing. They're going to have to take this class again. Okay, next, the orange represents...
So it was 7 out of 10. For the people that don't watch and just listen, shout out to my truck drivers out there, man. Or shout out to anybody that does security. I remember I talked to some of you guys. So that was like her first, or in 2005, it was like half students or half of one student out of 20, and then it was 7 out of 20.
In 2005, parent involvement. I always had parents either in my inbox asking about lessons, volunteering for field trips, or anything that we needed for our classroom, volunteering supplies. 2005.
2 out of 20.
2025. Where are the parents that are supposed to be involved in their school?
They don't care.
Behavior issues. Students in 2005 that I had to like write up on referrals, call home, maybe have parent-teacher conferences for poor behavior.
1 out of 20.
Out of a whole classroom, there was always like at least one bad apple, okay? 2025. Put
9 out of 20.
your cell phone away. Why are you showing up to my class 15 minutes late? Don't talk to me like that. Don't call them the N-word. You know, if there's anything that being a teacher has taught me, it's analyzing data and trends. And I just don't like the current trends. So that is why you are seeing teachers leaving like in a mass exodus, just in droves, exiting the classroom this year. And everybody wants to blame COVID. That's a small part of it. Most of it has to do with parenting, screen time. You put a cell phone in the hands of a small child and just give them unfettered access to the internet. Do you think they care about what's going on in my class?
Do you honestly believe that these...
Well, and then also kids, I don't know about you guys have noticed this, but I have nephews, you know, that they're young, and they have the attention span of a cricket. 3 seconds. 3 seconds. You know, we took our nephews out to like a Mr. Gaddy's Pizza or a little like prime time thingy, and it has all the games and stuff like that. And like they'll go up to the game, literally play it for 3 to 5 seconds, be like, "What's next?" Like they just can't focus on anything. Their focus is just gone. When I was a kid, I would get hyper focused on things. I would stare, get hyper focused on things, get fixated on it, you know, with like Legos, bro. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you ever did Legos, man. I was a Legos maniac. I would sit there and play with Legos until my back hurt as an 8-year-old. And if any of you guys know how hard it is for your back to hurt as an 8-year-old, you got to be sitting there for hours. I would sit there for hours and no screens. I wasn't watching TV. I was on Legos, just making Legos, figuring out new shapes, making these things. Kids these days don't. They watch TV and then they have a tablet. They'll watch the tablet, play a game on the tablet, watch the TV. Like they need constant dopamine hits. It's so sad. It really is sad.
These teachers are quitting their job 2 weeks into the school year because they're not getting paid enough or because the politics that they're dealing with from outside of the classroom is too much to handle. No, that's not the reason. The reason why they're quitting is because these kids are mean and they're making the classroom a war zone and they're getting zero support from parents at home and from admin on their campus. This 100% stems from the stuff that they have to deal with day in and day out from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. inside their classroom. It's the stuff that you have to deal with inside your classroom that makes you burn out and makes you never want to come back. I understand that so many of our kids are dealing with rough lives at home and are dealing with trauma, dealing with mental illness, dealing with learning disabilities. All of those
They've been dealing with that forever, though.
Things make it difficult to thrive in school, and I understand that. But the problem is that all of those things are no reason to treat other human beings like a piece of garbage. Facts. Regardless of your opinion of teachers, most teachers that I know wake up every single day excited to teach whatever lesson that they've spent hours planning and creating, and they want to have a meaningful experience with the students in their classroom. They want to have a good day. And I know, speaking for myself, I woke up every day praying that it was going to be a good day, praying that the kids that I had that day were going to be as excited about the content that I was ready to present as much as I was. And most days, that is not what I got met with. On the daily, teachers are getting cussed out, spit on, hit, flipped off. Their equipment is getting broken and stolen. There are bullies in class that are relentless, not just to their own fellow students, but to the adult in the room. Imagine if you had to deal with that at your job. I'm speaking to non-teachers right now, right? You would not put up with that. You would stay somewhere where you were treated with respect and you knew that you were safe in your work environment. If someone came every single day to your job, bullied you, hit you, cussed you out, rolled their eyes at you, treated you like you were nothing, like you were garbage, you wouldn't want to come back either. You would put in your 2 weeks notice. But for some reason, so many people believe that we signed up for that. Because that's a part of teaching, and that's just how kids are. I made the decision not to return to the classroom this year, and I haven't been in a classroom for months now, and I still have nightmares, trauma nightmares on a weekly.
Bro, I have nightmares of missing finals in college. I have nightmares of doing drum corps again. I don't know if any of you guys know about Drum Corps International, but I have nightmares of being in college. Chat, put a 1 in the chat if you've had nightmares of a traumatic experience when you were a kid or a teenager. Bro, it's happened to me.
Basis about my former classroom and my former students. And yes, It is a parent and an admin problem just as much as it is a kid problem, because the difference between now and 20 years ago even is that 20 years ago, when you would have a kid cuss you out, hit you, smack other kids, ruin your property, steal things off of your desk, there was going to be somebody on campus that was going to back you up and find a solution. But now that's not the case. Suspensions are down because they want those numbers down. They want to look good. They're not suspending kids for getting in fights and being violent in the classroom anymore. It's just not happening. Even
what? I remember, dude, back in my day, kids getting in fights, you out of there.
in the early 2000s and 2010s, when I started my career, I was assured that if I called a parent to tell them about what was going on in my classroom with their child, they were most definitely going to say, I am so sorry, do what you need to do, I'll talk to them when they get home. Right? That doesn't happen anymore either. It is a parent problem because we're getting met with the same attitudes that we see in the classroom that we're seeing at home from parents. Your doctor or nurse, somebody comes up to your nurse's station and starts yelling and screaming, throwing things, cussing you out, calling you names. What do? You get to call security and call a code violet. As teachers, we can't do that anymore. We try, but then the kid gets sent out of the class, they are given a snack, and then 5 minutes later, they're back in the classroom ready to terrorize somebody else. There's always going to be only one adult in the room and 30 kids. And
30 kids is crazy. Yeah, because back in my day, it was like 20, 25, but 30?
And as soon as we put our attention on the one kid who's causing the disturbance and the violence in the class, then everyone is going to turn to us and say, well, why aren't you looking after the other kids? Why aren't you doing your job in teaching these kids? What happens when somebody else starts doing something they're not supposed to do?
Unreal.
It's a lose-lose situation. So who wants to deal with that at work? Of course, these young teachers who are just now stepping into the profession are done with it after 2 or 3 weeks. They realize that they don't have to deal with that behavior. They don't have to deal with that disrespect. And there's another way that they can make their money. Let me just speak about Houston ISD for a second, because that's where I came from and that's what I advocate for.
I know Houston about to be bad.
Because I still care very deeply about that school district. Teachers at Houston ISD are not quitting their jobs right now because of the crap they're having to deal with from their superintendent and the fact that libraries are being stripped away from campuses that desperately need them. Again, I would say that most of the teachers that are dealing with those issues are strongly urged from within to stay in those positions to advocate for change in that situation. Those are not the reasons that they're quitting. It's the kids and the behavior that they are dealing with, because they are not scared of consequences anymore. In fact, if something happens in the classroom, a group of kids is more likely to pull out their phone and start recording it and laughing instead of helping the situation. I know the last thing most people want to hear is a teacher saying that kids are the problem. But what else are we supposed to do? How else are we supposed to tackle this situation? Behavior issues are at an all-time high right now. And nobody wants to admit it, because then that's saying that, oh, those poor little darlings, you know, they're suffering out there in a world that's chaos. What are they supposed to do? You know, you're supposed to love them through it. We are asked to deal with so much abuse on a daily basis. And because they are children, somehow it's okay. For those
Unreal, bro. I feel bad for these teachers. Speaking of teachers, we did a react the other day of the protests, the No Kings protests, which are absolutely hilarious. So this woman right here is shown doing some vile things.
Hey! You ever heard of Ozempic, you fat ass?
Like, okay, all right. Well, she fafoed in hilarious fashion. So now she has been found out, and I do believe she has been fired. Nathan Hale Elementary School, Lucy Martinez. Big bag. An elementary school teacher from Chicago who thought it was funny to mock Charlie Kirk's death has been fired immediately, and then she immediately deleted her X account. So there is some swift justice in there. And yeah. And so teachers when I was a kid, I hope everyone had a good recess. It's time for math. Teachers now, whiteness is privilege. Now, who's ready to hear about my sexuality? Like, bro, it is crazy. It is crazy how things have changed with what happens in the freaking classroom. Like, look at this. What happened? Old school teachers, new school teachers. Old school teachers, new school teachers. Like the trans flags and all this weird ideology being pumped down these kids. It's awful to me. It's absolutely awful to me that this is what we're seeing now. Teachers are supposed to be where you go and learn. Now it's where you go and get brainwashed. It's really sad. If any of you guys are teachers, man, I feel for you. I really do. Hopefully you teach at a private school. But the one thing I would say is it's never too late to start over at a new career. If you're not happy with something, you're not happy where you're at, you don't feel respected, you don't feel compensated, go try something new. To give you some context of what I did, I was 26 years old when I got out of college because I was stupid and it took me that long, okay? Okay?
Gotcha, bitch.
I didn't mean to push that one. But it took me a while, okay? I started teaching. About 6 months in, hated it. Said, you know what, I'm going to get into sales. Got into sales, did it for a decade, and now here we are at YouTube. I changed careers after I was in sales for a decade. I thought I was going to be a VP of sales, CRO. And I said, you know what? Let me try this YouTube stuff. And I started it 2 years ago, and here we are, almost 300,000 subscribers, and I love you guys. I love you guys, man. You changed my life for the better. Now I get to spend time with Loki every single day.
I don't give a fuck, Keisha.
He's like, just where's the treats, dude? But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Let me know what you guys think about this whole teacher thing. You know, who was your favorite teacher? Let me know in the comments. Mine was my second grade teacher, Miss Walker. Loved her. She was great. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It was good to have you guys out, man. Until next time. Peace.